All right, good morning, tribe, and welcome to the Donut Shop at the beginning of the world. I am your host, Dr. Mark Merriweather Fortebrooken, broadcasting you live back home, back in spring, back in Ravenscar. Oh man, got in late. Got in, sometime almost close to 1 a.m. And but here I am because I'm a fool. I considered sleeping in late, but my inner alarm clock woke me up, and I was like, hell, I may as well get up and do the donut shop because not many donut shops left. So here I am, drinking coffee, looking at you. Hey, Jennifer. Yes, I am alive. I'm not sure if I completely feel alive. Definitely feel well fed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very, very well fed. And very, very New Orleans. I could have stayed there another day or three, and just chilled and hung out and sat in the French Quarter and watched the boats go by on the river and go back in the French Quarter and eat and watch the paintings and watch the people. And yeah, hey Holly, good morning. Oh man, yeah, I was a little surprised at just how much open air selling of marijuana and smoking of marijuana was going on. The whole time I was there, I think I only saw two cops, uh, and so it really was kind of a just do as you wish. Hey Tracy, good morning. Hello, uncommon bees. Hello, hello. One of these days we shall meet again, but it shall not be today. Someday. Unless you're at the rodeo today. So Younger Weather has tickets to Khalid, something. So she and a friend are going. I'm the driver, so I'm driving them down to the rodeo. My plan is to pretty much find a bench and eat nachos and watch people. Hey, Tina, good morning. Kiri, hello. Charles, good morning. There it is. Helen with the Helen hugs. Get your Helen hug, Helen hug, Helen hug. Get your Helen hug, Helen hug. Nice. Evie, good morning. Dina, hello. Oh, Mom and Dad are here. Good morning, everyone. 43 degrees. I don't know what it is here. It's pretty nice. Oops, and my phone's inside. Oh, well. I'll just have to keep an eye on the clock up there. It's probably in the 40s here. It's kind of cold. It's warm enough that I'm able to go barefoot, but just barely. And I may be regretting the barefootedness in a bit, but so be it. But the sun's not up yet. You can see my breath. Oops, wrong side. Anyway, you know what breath looks like. But yeah, I'm here drinking my coffee. The coffee in New Orleans was beautifully, wonderfully so good and strong. And I decided maybe I've been making my coffee too weak, and so I made it really strong this morning. And I think I made it a little too strong. Oh, hey, Charles! Charles! Oh, King, my King, the King of Spain, 49. Well, you know what that means. That means I need to lubricate the vocal cords. All right, Charles. You ready? If there's people you want to, okay. Those of you who don't know what's going to happen, I'm about to sing "Happy Birthday." It's going to be very loud. It's going to be kind of scary. But I recommend taking earphones out, and if you're at work, turn the music down or turn the sound down. Okay, you ready, Charles, my buddy? All right. Whew, I need to inhale here. I'm out of practice. Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Charles, King of Spain! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, my buddy. Well done making it to 49. You're still a kid, but well done. Ooh, Helen, 47 degrees there and high of 65. Nice. Hey, Derek, good morning. Ooh, lots of people are wishing you happy birthday, Charles. Yep, Gary, 62 degrees in the house, refused to turn on heater. That's all it causes it to get hot once the sun shines in my room. That's what the blankets are for. That needs more coffee. Yep. I think I made it just a little too strong. I think if it was just a little less, then it'd be perfect. So instead of the, let's see, 5 cups, I put 8 scoops in. I think if I put 6.5. Here we go, Carlos. And Charles. Feliz Anos. Yeah, I know you're gonna make fun of me. I don't care. Let's see other stories from. Oh, okay. So we went to the World War II Museum yesterday in New Orleans, and I got to tell you, I was horribly disappointed. I after wanting to go to this museum for years, finally getting there, um, it was a most unpleasant experience. It was jam packed. They had everything in these twisty sort of hallways that were very narrow, and they had like the living diorama type things and all this up there, and you were just like penguins being shoved through. Maybe if you could get there in a time of day, like it might have been just the fact that it was spring break and it was kind of a rainy day in New Orleans, and so everyone was looking for something inside to do. But they, it just yeah, it was. I know Mrs. Weather and younger Weather. Okay, so Mrs. Weather was there, but I didn't let people know that because I didn't want people to know the house was unattended. But anyway, remember Mrs. Weather is around this tall, and younger Weather is about this tall, and so being jam packed and not being able to see anything, and them not being the World War II aficionados, they after about an hour and a half there, they said, you know what, we were going to skip the tour of Tulane University, but let's go tour Tulane University instead. And it's like, okay, let's do that. There was some neat stuff. There was some interesting. There were a number of exhibits where there were signs. This object removed at discretion of curators, and so I'm wondering, what that was about. So the one kind of interesting thing is they basically had different kits and gear from like actual real soldiers. Like this was Charles Willie McGee. This it's in my mind. And he was a bomber pilot, and the da 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 da. And here's his jacket, his flight suit, his mask, his kit, his all that sort of thing. Um, so it was that kind of was kind of neat. Okay, Jennifer. So okay, so it wasn't the museum, but the crowds. The crowds made it worse, but the actual way they had the exhibits set up was not very informative. Was not very. There was some. The whole layout was not conductive to actually learn anything, and so that bothered me. They did have some like display panel showing this people went here and that people went there, but it seemed kind of sanitized, and like the whole let's face it, the atomic bomb being dropped on Nagasaki in Japan. They just had one small area devoted to that, and that was it. And it was like, I would think this would be a worth more than what they had. I mean, it was the size of a kitchen and two big pictures and really nothing else. So anyway, hey S, good morning. We have the same situation while visiting the Alamo, just jam packed. Here we go. Derek is there. We decided this history is too much to handle. I'm wondering if that was the case. If they felt, you know what, let's just hide certain aspects because we're ashamed of it, or I don't know. Anyway, I will say they did have, one, I guess it was like a B-52. The B-52 hanging way up in the rafters was kind of cool, but even then, you couldn't really see it. So I don't know. Like I said, if it had been fewer crowds and could actually, see stuff and have time to see stuff and not just be shoved, then maybe it would have been better. But the one thing they just had, everything was very narrow. And so it was like maybe four people across. It was like a twisty, turny grocery store aisle type things. Hey, Amy. Good morning, kind humans. Thankful for you people. Aw, that's sweet. That's sweet. We like you, Amy. Yeah, well, that's probably the most important part of history. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, and quite frankly, and maybe I'm wrong, but information on the two atomic bombs, Fat Man and Little Boy, or Fat Boy and Fat Man and Little Boy. What was the mechanism? How did it work? What was involved in creating it? The race between Germany and the U.S. for the nuclear weapons was pretty damn impressive, and they got, luckily the Germans decided to take their little bit of uranium and plutonium and split it up amongst a whole bunch of different people and not let them know what the others were doing. They were still getting close. They knew in theory, but they just didn't have enough material, any one researcher, to go, okay, now we can do it. The U.S. at least was a little more focused and said, all right, Manhattan Project, yeah, you got to get everything, all the eggs in that basket. And it worked. Question for Uncommon Bees. Uncommon Bees, do you have any idea why the bees love the tubs my waterfall bathe in, but not the tubs I catch rainwater in? I moved the waterfall tubs during the winter, and the bees found the tubs and drank. I never see the bees at the rainwater tubs. Could it be a depth thing? Charles, I remember as a child, my dad would mow grass as a side job, and gas was around 50 cents a gallon. When I started driving, it was about $1 a gallon. A full tank of gas was $20. Yep, I got to tell you, just I got a drink. That's one of the problems that's really hurting me, because I got all my classes and the prices and the contracts in place, for all of 2020, and a lot of them were set up before this huge gas price increase. And so a lot of times I'm driving 500 miles in a weekend, and there goes all the foraging Texas money. Okay. The MC Escher exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston is fabulous. I think younger folks will especially like it. That was one thing I learned with younger weather, is she actually likes art museums. Oh, okay. So in the French Quarter, it's like Rue Art Gallery, RUE, I think it's something like that. And they have all these fine art for sale, and they let you wander in. They don't check it. They just let you in and you wander. And younger brother dragged me and said, Dad, check out this painting. And it was a nice painting. It was a nice painting. It was cool. Honestly, I don't even remember what it was, though, because next to it was the price tag. The price tag for this painting sitting right there, not protected by glass. You could go right up to it. $1,250,000. At first, I thought it was like $100,000 and change. But then really, no, $1,250,000 for this painting. It was a big painting. It was a nice painting. Apparently, it was by some famous person. But you can stand just like inches away. And I realized, excluding like oil field equipment and things of that nature, that is the most expensive object I've ever been near in my life. That a person could walk in and buy. It was kind of weird because I can't imagine spending $1 million. If I were rich enough to spend $1 million on a painting, I would have to. I can't imagine how much money I would have to have already where I would feel comfortable doing that. Hey, Tiffany, good morning. James, yeah, the Alamo is a giant letdown. As someone who grew up idolizing Davy Crockett and their narrative taught by Texas schools, to see how small it actually was and learning the truth was kind of depressing. I'm sorry. I always liked the Alamo. Hey, Henry, good morning. Texan Dave, hello. Deb, good morning. Yep, the actual Alamo took up most of downtown San Antonio. What is left today is not much. Yep. That's the thing. If anything, seeing the models and stuff inside and how big it was is actually kind of eye-opening. Oh, man. Okay, I met Colonel Tibbetts, the pilot of the Enola Gay. Cool. So the Enola Gay was the one that dropped the first bomb. They never talk about the second one. I don't even know what the name of the second aircraft was. Charles, I'd say that the way the West treated Russian forces as they lost tons of personnel shapes the relationship we have with them today. Most definitely. That was definitely one of Roosevelt's strengths in World War II, if you want to call it that. He managed to get Russia to sacrifice, maybe hundreds of thousands, but thousands and thousands and thousands more soldiers than the U.S. did. And yeah, it's kind of been a stick in their craw. In addition to the whole absolute, different economic belief system. But hey, Chris, good morning. Oh, Chris is sitting on the Mississippi watching the boats go by, talking about you to younger weather, what you do. Ah, okay. So incoming bees. Bees go for the minerals in the water. That makes sense because there really isn't going to be any minerals in the rainwater. Carrie, my first college roommate was from Japan. When the news reported on the anniversary of the bomb, she objected. She grew up hearing a different date, then realized it had to do with the international date line. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Yep, during the oil embargo of the 70s, we thought $1.40 was outrageous. Yeah, and that's because, they were used to 25 cents. But worse is coming. Hey, Pam, good morning to you. Charles R., good morning. Let's see. Saw a video yesterday shared when gas hit $1 a gallon. He thought it would have to give up driving because gas was so expensive. Most definitely. Let's see. The second aircraft was a boxcar. Not following. I need more information here on Common Bees. Okay. But yeah, the minerals in the chicken water, that makes sense. Because especially if it's from a well, there's probably going to be minerals in it. When you got water coming up from underground, there's usually minerals. See if I can trick the camera. Ah, there I am. Look at me. I'm going to start looking at a Toyota Primus. Cool. Also, be sure to check out what's happening to the electrical prices. Ah, yes. Okay, Chris. Saw a podcast talking about how the topsoil is poor quality, leading to mineral and vitamin deficiencies due to produce having less dense makeup of those essential things. Yeah, that's one of the big problems. Well, that's why they changed the serving sizes of the food pyramid a number of years ago, is because they realized, like out in California where a lot of produce is grown, where they've been growing, say, spinach in the same fields since World War II, that the soil is becoming depleted of nutrients, the trace minerals that it needs for the full nutritional value of the food. So a lot of the domesticated food is of lower nutritional value per pound than it used to be. So to make sure people were getting enough, they had to increase the amount of food you were eating. Yeah, and so this is part of it, and you're absolutely right, Texan Day. Russian theory in battle is throw forces at the enemy, large losses of soldiers as expected. Yeah, they plan is to just grind people down. And so they kind of would have been doing that anyway. Part of the problem is U.S. kept promising, yeah, we're going to send you equipment, we're going to send you stuff, we're going to send you stuff. Just hang on, just another month, another few months, just hang on, we're going to get you this stuff. And so while they kept grinding away with the promise of American supplies, they got some. They didn't get what they thought they should be getting. Man, can you hear the birds? All right, Sue, I'm reading Bloodlands by Timothy Snyder and learning a lot about Stalin, on which I was ignorant. You probably learned now why the Ukraine hates him so bad and hates Russia so bad. And yeah, Stalin was a rat bastard. But he understood that Marxism could be used to convince people to do really bad things. Okay. Derek, I'm probably known to talk about agriculture quite a bit. Are you aware ethanol component of the price of gas right now? I think the ethanol is the stupidest thing that the government is, well, maybe not the stupidest thing, but it's way up there because it doesn't really oxygenate the gas any. Ever since they put the ethanol, I'm in a rant mood. Ever since they put ethanol in gas, the farmers have had to turn up every bit of soil to supply all the corn needed for food and for gas to mix in with the gas, leaving no wild spots around for the ducks and the geese and things like that. And so there's been a very severe plummet in pheasants and ducks and geese and all the other creatures that would live in the more fallow areas of the farm, because the farmers are trying to squeeze every inch out to get every bushel of corn out for the gasoline, plus all the damage that gasoline does to engines. So yeah, it's one of those many bad ideas. It's like when they said, they mandated the MTBE in the gas. Said you got to have this because it'll make it burn cleaner. Well, it didn't burn any cleaner, and that particular compound was actually very capable of seeping out of the underground gas tanks. It could make it through chemistry stuff. It could make it through the liners into the soil. And then the government said, there's all this MTBE around in the soil, and sued the gas station owners to clean it up. And it's like, well, you told us to put it in here without enough testing, and we put it in here. And now because you made us put it in here, it's contaminating the soil. And now you're suing us and making us pay for the cleanup. Gotcha. Know who I'm voting for next time. Okay. So the name was Boxcar. So the name of the pilot, or sorry, the name of the plane. What a boring name for a plane. But okay, the name was Boxcar that dropped Little Man, the second bomb. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yep, I'm on the Edwards Aquifer, 420 feet deep. Wow, lots of lime and other minerals. So that would make sense then why the bees are going for that. Yep, Charles, poor nutrition and store-bought produce. Is that why I feel fuller when I eat food from my backyard? Probably part of it. Your backyard probably has not been depleted of minerals and all that stuff yet. Hey, Jonathan, good morning. Okay, isn't that why you rotate crops to add certain minerals back to the soil? Partially, yeah. So you rotate crops to lessen the impact of things like corn extracts some stuff that, say, spinach doesn't. So yeah, rotating the crops is part of that, but also then properly fertilizing, because one of the issues is, so like, in an ecosystem, when the plants die, all the nutrients in the plants go back into the soil. In the places where you're harvesting the food or the plants for food, you're constantly removing stuff from the soil. You're cutting the broccoli, you're shipping the broccoli to New York, and so the compounds that were in the broccoli don't return. They spread the phosphorus and the ammonia on the fields to give the phosphorus and the nitrogen up, but they don't have a good way of returning all these other trace minerals. But usually when they're rotating crops, not only are they rotating crops, but usually there's like a year where it just says completely unused. And usually there's a year when you have cows and animals and stuff on there depositing their cowy goodness into the soil. And so the proper crop rotation involves animals too, which is something they don't do out there. So they're taking too much out. So even with rotating crops, but a lot of them out there, they just grow the spinach, they just grow this. Then, like I said, they put the phosphorus and the nitrogen back in. Key thing to remember: most of the phosphorus in fertilizer, or not most, but a large portion of the industrial phosphorus comes from Russia. Yay! Anyway, that's why they are talking about the food issues, because the fertilizer coming from Russia is no longer available, and so we can't grow the crops the way we have been growing the crops. Learn to forage, folks. Yep, ethanol is fluff for political gain. All the corn states are important in the electoral college, and this way have crappy programs as a gift to those states. Yep, and every state has its own form of graft, and kickbacks and earmarks and so forth. So, but yeah, I would love to see the government get out of all that. Let's see. U.S. conventional egg is almost complete monoculture. Yeah. And because, there's a couple of reasons. One, it makes it easier to harvest and to ship. And so a monoculture is much more efficient for mass-produced food. But it has all the other problems then of susceptibility to disease and, if something draining the soil, all that sort of thing. So it's you can't have a permaculture forest and have everyone spend 2 hours a day working in the permaculture forest on top of everything else they do. So the decision was made really on planet Earth in most places. Europe, the Ukraine, it's the giant breadbasket of the world. It's to feed the masses. You need mass-produced food. Machines that can harvest the stuff, go through the rows and chop, and take it, and away you go. And if you have a mixture, like if you had carrots and broccoli in the same field, they don't have equipment that could harvest the carrots and the broccoli at the same time, or even so anyhow, they all hang out with me on the creek because I let nature do its thing on my property. Sweet. Can you hear that bird? Yeah. Ethanol-free gas out here. Love it. Especially if you're putting it in a small engine, like a lawnmower or a generator or something like that. Yeah. The ducks and geese hang out. Yep. Yep, ethanol is bad for your gas system. Fuel shelf life is less and gunks up your system. Sounds like a government program. Yep. Also, because ethanol is an electrolytic fluid, which means it can carry a charge, which means if you have two dissimilar types of metal connected by a electrolytic fluid, you will get corrosion. I spent a large part of my career trying to stop that, and it's almost impossible. Yep, they never put back any organic matter, and that's the problem. That's why the fields get depleted of the micronutrients. I wonder what the world would be like if the internal combustion had never been invented. Probably much, much worse. Because then you're back to livestock, which can only do so much. There was an interesting thing that the New York City, back in the heyday, before the invention of the cows, was being flooded with horse poop. Just mountain, tons and tons and tons of horse poop. And they had no place to get rid of the horse poop. So they're basically just dumping it into the rivers to get rid of these, the horse poop from, thousands and thousands of horses, and then hauling the, the food in for the horses and so forth. We would not have modern life. We would, kind of maxed out at a lower level, and all the problems. And quite frankly, owning a horse was more expensive than a car at this point in life. As anyone with a horse. So, and then of course the animal rights thing that there were protesters there were, the carriage rides in New Orleans and the people protesting the carriage rides and stuff like that. So, yep. Pam, getting all the soil ready for container gardening is tedious, but worth it. Totally worth it. Yeah, that's the key. Walkable cities would be much healthier for the residents. That's the problem with Houston. Houston is not walkable, not easily. New Orleans was walkable. It was great. I love walking. Unfortunately, not a lot of people like walking anymore, and especially if it's 100 degrees out, 99 humidity, or 4 degrees and snowy and icy. So in places where the weather is unpleasant, either too hot or too cold, most people aren't going to want to walk. They want to travel in some sort of conveyance that keeps them protected. Better public transportation would be good if you could convince people to use it, and avoid, like in New York now, the crime rate on the subways is shooting up through the roof and stuff. So unless you want to kill lots and lots of people, we're kind of trapped in this path until we can come up with a better system. All right. Yes, the Tribe ultraviolet lights and merino wool socks from Walmart at a discount. Ooh, glowing 60% better. Sheelite tungsten in Death Valley near Cinnamon Dome Mine. #1 copper with air tracks and DB cats. Yep. And so if you want to move over to the electrical, the electric cars and so forth, that means we need to mine more. We need more copper. We need more lithium. We need more carbon fiber. Where does that come from? So, yeah, we'll see what happens. And electrical generation. Good morning, El Chirpito. I think he is back there trying to get a chirp in edgewise. I think so. And he's going, yeah, tell him, you the man. That's what I'm gonna think he's doing that. Yep, even with foraging, animals remove nutrients and not replace them, especially if they're used as food. Exactly. So again, that's like the bison traveling the prairies and so forth and pooping and tearing it up and all that. Okay, big score right there. Phosphorus. Okay, wait. I don't know what you're talking about here, Fair, because phosphorus is an element. There's no such thing as like synthetic phosphorus. And the petrochemical industry, it's used like phosphoric acid and so forth is used in a lot of reactions. In some cases, it's a byproduct, but you need the phosphorus from elsewhere first. Usually, they get the elemental phosphorus, burn it into phosphoric acid, and then they start using it in the petrochemical industry. So, like oil and so forth, not really much phosphorus at all in the oil. You got carbon, you got hydrogen, you got some oxygen, you got a little tiny bit of nitrogen, you got a little tiny bit of sulfur. No real phosphorus. Yeah, there it is. Kiri, the rabbit poop and the goat poop is homegrown fertilizer. Well, you could do like China, where everyone collects their own feces and then they haul it out and pour it on the plants out in the community gardens there. Ooh, that's an idea. Maybe you can do a donut shop discussing different ways to broadcast live, including your setup. Maybe that, or maybe over in the cantina. Hey, Wolf. Good morning. Okay, one gardener speaker said stop using phosphorus. It's building up in soils. I don't know about that, but I think part of it is you want to fertilize your soil to give it what the soil needs for the particular plants that you're growing and what is in it to begin with. So if you already have phosphorus rich soil, which is possible, especially in the some of the Austin chalk and so forth, well, maybe not so much there, but if you for whatever reason already have phosphorus in your soil and you're adding more and you're not doing anything that's taking it out, then yeah, you're not helping the situation. But knowing what your soil needs, what amendments your soil need for the plants you're growing is going to be more effective than just willy-nilly throwing it out and throwing out the seeds and everything and seeing what happens. Okay, yeah, you can hear the birds are extremely loud this morning. Isn't the government supposed to work for the people? What happened? They figured out they can work for themselves. There's this, if the government solves any problem, then the people associated who are hired to work on that problem will be out of work, and they don't want that. And what is going on with my beard here? Oh, okay, it's just sunlight. Yeah, no one wants to, put themselves out of a job for the most part, and so solutions will be done that maintain their own employment, which means the solution is not being found. Oh, cool. The Ravens have returned to Weirdling Way. I'm so jealous that you have Ravens. I want Ravens. I love Chirpy. He gets my cockatiel, gets to talking to him. Oh, man. Maybe we can get them to FaceTime. Yep, funny. We went from World War II to agriculture, literally how history went. During the war, we used gas-powered vehicles en masse, so when the war ended, the oil companies found that they could create MPK, and it made nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and made the crops grow great. Yep, most definitely. I remember my grandfather talking about like farm equipment after World War One when they first. So World War One basically started with trains and mules and ended with vehicles. And after World War One, you could buy early tanks and stuff fairly cheap, and farmers were using World War One tanks in their fields as tractors because tractors weren't a thing yet, but the tanks could down the fields, and that would have been cool. Now, I don't know how truthful he was when he was telling me this, because Grandpa he was a bit of a jokester, so maybe he wasn't. But I just had visions of tanks pulling plows after that. Pam, I really need to read what I write before I hit send. Yeah, I kind of think I should probably think about what I'm saying before I say it. Yep, 3 horses are more expensive than a car. Don't ask me how I know. Yep, and horses are expensive and take toll on the land. You got to, the like cars, they need the gasoline. Horses, they need the food. Hey, Bonnie, good morning, drive. Blessings to all. All right, I put a 10-inch diameter hardware cloth tube in the center of our raised bed to put compost in. Yep, those are awesome, kind of like a keyhole garden. I put a bucket over the top to keep the litters at bay. Seems to be working. Yep, and that's kind of why I have. So this is a composter, and there are plants all around it. It's in the center, kind of like what you're saying, and then things are growing all around it, and it will be covered with plants. So yeah, putting the composter in the middle of the garden or in the middle of a raised bed, a very good idea. Like I said, look at if those of you out there who have never heard of a keyhole garden, keyhole, like key in the hole, keyhole garden, check it out. You should be doing that. Diana, I'm here, almost dead with sinus pressure, but listening and loving you all. Thank you. Yep. Eat a garlic clove, then load up on fresh pineapple. Fresh pineapple is very good at helping with sinus congestion. Yep. So the food that comes from China is fertilized by the Chinese. Yep. You can look up the term night soil. NIGHT, night soil. All right, Texan, do you know if gypsum made as a coal power plant byproduct is good for clearing pond water? I know natural gypsum is. I don't know. I'd have to see certificate of analysis, what else is in there. So yeah, I don't know. Melanie, good morning. I didn't get notification in the last few days. That's because Facebook only alerts about 10% of the fan base what's going on, unless I want to pay Facebook. Yes, I heard an interview with a guy who's been building e-vehicles for years, and he said there isn't enough lithium on the planet to make the required batteries now, much less what would require for the Green Deal initiative. Yeah, and that's something I've been seeing too. The amount of mining required, and where is the lithium? We have lithium in the United States. We have the all the different small amount, the trace elements, the exotic elements that are needed for the building electric cars in a grid, will we be allowed to mine it? Again, will the environmentalists allow it to mine it? And I don't know if you've been seeing in the news, most of the environmental groups in the U.S. have been funded by the Russians for decades because Russia realized it was a way of, I'll say, weakening the U.S. Okay. Last one. Isn't nitrogen pulled out of the air? So here's the thing. Ooh, chemistry time. Nitrogen gas. You have two nitrogen atoms locked together. This is a very, very, very strong bond, and there's a lot of it in the air. Yeah, there's tens of percent, like 40% or 60%. A majority of the air is this nitrogen. This nitrogen is inaccessible to anything else to use because it's so locked together. It's tight. Its outer electron orbitals are full. It's pretty much almost like a noble gas. So you have to break it apart into the more reactive individual nitrogen atoms to actually do anything with it. In nature, the main way of doing that is lightning. The energy from lightning is energetic enough to break the nitrogen bond, the nitrogen gas bond. So then you form what's called nitrates, and that gets rained down with the rain. And that's one of the reasons after a rain, all the plants suddenly seem to be more lush green, is because the lightning broke apart the nitrogen into ways that the plants can actually use. In human use, we can take nitrogen from the air, but again, to break it takes a large amount of energy to break it into usable nitrogen, usable nitrates. So we basically have to recreate lightning. So large amounts of electricity is used, or power in general, but usually electricity. If we want to make it into ammonia, there's the Haber process, Haber, Haber process, where you again react it at very high temperatures with hydrogen and very expensive catalysts and convert it into ammonia, which we can then use. But it requires a lot of energy to break that initial bond to turn nitrogen into something that can actually be used. Wood gasifiers, yes. I've studied those quite a bit. So in the wood, there are different burnable gas. Think, basically methane from wood, or methane, where you heat up the wood. You're basically distilling off flammable gases from the wood, just wood chips, which can then be fed into, a car engine. So you got to make some modifications, and it burns out like gasoline. It's flammable gas coming from wood. But of course, then you need wood, lots of wood, and lots of wood delivered to people. So, oops. Okay, I was thinking nitrogen, not phosphorus. Okay, gotcha. So, but again, most of the nitrogen comes from the atmosphere, but then they have to subject it to a large amount of, it's 8:00. A large amount of electrical power generated somewhere to break it into something usable. Worm composter, sweet. All right, let me just zoom down here. Okay. April, Russians never funded me. It depends on what groups you belong to. If you follow, the funding for a lot of the environmental groups, there's been some, now that Russians are our enemies again, the truth is coming out. So check it out. Hey, Cindy, yes. Do you have a book on foraging? Idiot's Guide Foraging. You can find it on Amazon. 70 plants found all across North America, easy to find, easy to use. You don't have to go out into the deep woods to find them. Most of them can be found in like a suburban and any place where there's nature. So check it out, Idiot's Guide Foraging. And then in May, Outdoor Adventure Guide Foraging will come out. Again, on Amazon. So check it out. All right. Time to get to work. Mom, Dad, love you. Tribe, love you. Everyone, have a good one. Hang in there. Renting mode off and broadcast.